a new journey for It's a Wonderful Podcast. You can see our faces on an actual show. Unless you're listening to this on audio, of course, which you can't. But that's pretty normal. You're used to that by now. But for those listening and watching on YouTube, I'm gonna have to get used to saying watching as well, which is strange. You can see our faces now. We're very excited. Welcome to the madness, guys. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Monday Madness with Morgan and the Machine. Jeannine, what on earth are we doing?
I don't know.
I don't know what we're doing either.
But I think it's going to be really fun, so I'm ready.
I hope it is. I've come dressed for the occasion.
I know, you look so fancy.
Jeannine's also come dressed for the occasion.
I try to look a little cute,
That's a nice. It looks like a dress you've got on, Jeannine. I can't tell. Nobody can see our legs, but
no, it's a romper.
Probably for the best.
I think you could equate it to a romper.
Okay. Well, there you go. I'm also going to have to really remember to actually look at you. Hi.
I know.
And not down here at the screen. Craziness. We're going to get used to it, though. We're going to have to get used to it.
This is new for us.
It's very
people have
new
been
for
requesting. I've had several people like, if you just did a podcast on YouTube, I would totally watch it. Because I guess I don't know.
Now.
Is the audio podcast like a dying art?
It isn't, by the way. It isn't a dying art in any stretch of the imagination, but we're here. It's something new. Now, of course, our show, our podcast feed, It's a Wonderful Podcast, is still Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday now with this show, Monday Madness. Wednesday with Morgan Hasn't Seen. Friday with the main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast. Morgan Hasn't Seen and the main show are going to remain audio only. Certainly for the foreseeable future, or for now at least.
Yes.
I think at least while we get used to actually doing video podcasts as well. As you can see, we've added a nice little banner thing at the bottom of the screen. Some people may not. Well, like I said, the audio people they don't have a clue what I'm talking about. But for those watching on video, you will be able to see that. It's just very exciting. I hope you can sense the excitement in our voices.
Yes.
I really do. Because we're going to be talking about some fun things today. It's going to be nice. It's going to be chilled out. I have my drink. It's all good.
Yes. I'm ready.
Yeah. I mean, Jeannine, what's been happening? Things. Fun times.
Yes. Well, I recently took a trip to San Diego with some friends. And it was a really good time. I had been in San Diego maybe one other time, but it was for a specific thing. So all I literally did was go to the zoo and did really see the city and kind of went home. So
isn't that supposed to be like a famous thing in San Diego, though? Everybody goes to the zoo. Like, is it this really impressive zoo?
I mean, it's pretty big. Lots to see, but yeah, I wanted to see more of the city, so definitely got to do that this time. And I've learned that, I mean, no full offense to people from San Diego, but I don't know.
Full offense.
You're kind of lazy.
San Diego people are lazy.
I mean, if you live in such a beautiful place, it's easy to want to be lazy. I mean, we went to this like beach boardwalk place, and whoever designed this parking lot just needs to not have a job doing things like that, because literally all of the spaces were so close together to the point where one of my friends, Carla, had to like crawl out of the back like hatchback window of her car just to get out because it was so tight squeezed car to car to car. So yeah, I don't know. They put like all these giant trees taking up parking lot spaces in this parking lot and then crammed all the lots together.
They put trees
in the parking lot, like decorative kind of planted trees, like with big kind of, surrounding ground around them. So that was important for this parking lot, but not actual space to get out of your car.
Not the safety of its users.
Yes, so it was a pretty jam-packed parking lot. So that was fun trying to contort and squeeze out of the car once we got there.
Oh yeah, it's
Um,
like one of those. Ooh, it's like one of those clown cars.
I mean, it
How
felt
many
like it.
clowns can you fit in a car?
Exactly.
Cram them through the back window. Cram them through the side
Pretty
windows. Get
much.
one under the hood.
Yes. But this boardwalk was really cool. One of my friends, they actually went zip lining. You would
Ooh,
appreciate there was a rickety wooden roller coaster. Um,
I do appreciate rickety wooden roller coasters, Jeannine. You
yes.
are right.
Um, and then just kind of something else that played into the laziness of San Diego is just kind of their naming of restaurants. Um, so we walked by several restaurants that were just named sushi and hot dogs and tacos.
That I don't mind that they're being
I
direct.
mean, you know what you're getting, so I
You
guess
know what
that's
you're
a fair
getting.
point.
They
But
are
it was
not
just pretty funny.
selling. They cannot possibly be done for false advertising.
Yes,
Unless,
and
of course, the place is called sushi and they actually sell pizza, in which case,
that would be a bit
what
confusing.
is going
Yes.
on? I don't mind
um,
that though.
but they made up for it by having a street called Sassafras Street.
Excuse me.
Yes, so it was a very fun thing to see when you're driving on the freeway and you're like, Sassafras
You do
Street.
realise I can't even say that word.
Say, come on.
Sassafras.
Yes.
It doesn't sound right coming from me though, does it really?
You gotta say sassafras.
You have got to say sassafras. You have got to say
Yes,
it like that.
you do. So, overall, a really fun trip. I actually got to see my first baseball game. It's really fun.
Did you
Saw
sing the
the
song?
Padres. I mean, it was playing, and I kind of,
Boo,
but
boo the Padres. They're not the Mets. As people know, I am a casual Mets fan thanks to one game I attended with Brandon Hanna in 2018.
yes, so that's your devoted team. We were with somebody who was a big Giants fan, so we were still saying yes,
Oh,
boo the Padres. But it was a really fun game to see. It was my first baseball game. We actually like lucked into some decent seats. So by the time we bought tickets, like the only thing available was the lawn, which is kind of just like this hilly lawn area kind of across the way from the stadium. So you can kind of see inside. And it was a pretty sunny day. And I'm with a bunch of non-melanated people who had
with
burned the day
four versions
before.
of me.
Essentially, who had burned the day before, when we were kind of out walking around, and I didn't really get burned. Not that black people can't get sunburned, but I really didn't have an issue. um, yeah, so they were all a little bit toasty. So we were kind of as we were
Toasty,
walking, yes,
toasty people.
little toasty.
They've got
As
little
we were,
grill marks on them.
I mean, essentially, yes. Uh, so as we were walking farther and farther and farther away from like where we could potentially have a decent seat, we walked by these like fancy bars in the stadium, and the bars had like places where you could sit that kind of overlooked the stadium. So we were kind of like, I wonder if we
Okay.
can just go in there and just order some drinks and just chill in there and watch the game from there. Like, could we just stay in there? Like, it's cool, it's shady, it's nice, and it's like a really perfect view of the field. So I wonder if we could just. So we kind of had the thought, but we were like, okay, well, let's see how the lawn is. So we go out to the lawn, and we like don't have a blanket or anything, and we're just sitting on the grass, and everyone's kind of just like, this is hot, the sun's coming down. Like, let's see if we can go back to that bar and just sit overlooking the bar. So we go in there and we find a table that's not as good as like what we had originally saw, because now people are starting to pile in there. And we asked somebody who works there, and they're like, "Oh no, yeah, it's first come first serve. You can sit here and watch the whole game from here." So we're like, "Oh, cool." So we found some tables that were kind of farther away, but still better than the lawn. And then the waitress, and she knew we were kind of looking for a seat for like 5 people. She was like, "Oh, there's a spot that opened up." So right against the bar where like there's like a bar seating with stools that overlooked the stadium, 5 seats opened up. So and the waitress had let us know. So we sat there, and so we had like perfect seats for the game, got to see everything. We're nice in the shade, ordered some drinks. So it was a very nice kind of experience of
That's
watching my
that's
first.
very lucky.
Yeah.
What was the score of the game?
I believe it was we didn't stay the whole time because we had heard that, like,
That
if you
is
it is,
pathetic.
well, we had heard it was gonna be, like, a chaotic mess to get out, like,
Oh, okay.
somebody had,
Okay. Okay.
um somebody had said, like, it took them, like, 3 hours just to get out of the parking garage after the game. So
That's
we were like,
unpleasant.
"Okay, at the 8th inning, we'll leave just so we can, like, leave the parking garage and not get stuck in there for 3 hours."
I hope
So,
you
but
would say, though, you might leave in the 8th inning if it's a game that looks like it's pretty much done and something
I
crazy isn't gonna
mean,
happen in the
we
ninth.
I got to see a home run, so that was pretty fun. But it ended up, I think, when we looked back, we did want to look back, and we looked at the original score, and it was the ending score, and it was 4-2. So the Padres did win. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Fun fact, the Mets game, the one Mets game I ever attended, it was at Dodger Stadium, that also
Oh.
ended 4-2 to the
Oh, wow.
Mets. So,
Nice. Nice.
and
Um,
there was 2 home runs in that game.
oh, okay.
One for
Well,
either, so
nice. So,
success.
yeah, my friend Dials, who is our baseball guy, he was kind of just explaining things about the game to us because we're like, well, yeah, dude, I don't know anything about baseball.
Somebody
So yeah,
throws the ball, other
and somebody
person
hits it with the
hits the ball.
with a bat thing. So yeah, that's basically what I knew. But he was there to
Okay.
kind of guide us and explain things. But yeah, very fun. I thought I kind of thought I'd be bored, but it was actually really fun. So first baseball game, and
I like
uh
baseball. Baseball's fun. I always
yeah.
call cricket bad English baseball because it's just boring, takes forever. But I find baseball really quite entertaining.
It is, yeah. So I thought I would be bored, but I actually had a good time, and I actually got to play my first game of Jenga as well. We went to this.
Wait a minute. No, just let's all calm down and take a breather. I didn't know about this. How
I don't know. I've
how?
never played Jenga. I
Have
just
you never
never.
played a game of Jenga?
I people. I don't know. I've gone to like parties where people play games, but Jenga's never the game that gets pulled out to play. So I don't know. But we went to
Everybody
this.
owns Jenga.
Well, I don't, and I don't know anybody who does. So I just have personally never played Jenga before. It was just I don't know. But this was giant Jenga, so it was more.
No, no, I don't like giant Jenga. Giant Jenga, it's not as fun. Not as fun as
Well, I
little
had fun.
intricate Jenga.
We went to this bar. It was a super chill, DJ dancing, but then they had this upper area. They had like a giant Connect Four, and then these giant like blocks to play Jenga. So we decided to play some Jenga with some beers, and so it was my first time, and I did pretty well, but I am the one who toppled the tower and lost. But yeah, so I was playing with two guys, two of my guy friends, and they were very sneaky with the pieces they were pulling out and really set me up with some booby traps. But
There's strategy. There's serious
yeah,
strategy to Jenga.
so it was to the point where like every bottom piece was just literally held on by the one middle plank.
Yeah.
That's where I was. And like the three things at the top were just like teetering, and it's like obviously heavy, big, bigger pieces. So yeah, so they set me up for failure like by the end of it. So
Well,
but
I applaud the experienced Jenga players,
yes. But
admittedly.
overall, a really fun trip, and we got to see a lot, and it was beautiful. When our last night, we just said, let's just go to the beach and watch the sunset. But it was overcast, but it was still really pretty. So we just took a
Okay.
blanket out, sat on the beach, and just enjoyed kind of the scenery. We found a beach that like overlooked the skyline perfectly. So it was just kind of a great kind of cap off of our trip. And yeah, so we're planning the next one. We're very indecisive about where to go next. So we'll see. But this was a really fun trip. So yeah.
Lovely. And that was last weekend.
That was last weekend, yeah.
That was, I mean, the one. I mean, what I did last weekend, if anybody's interested, it's not as interesting as going to the baseball in San Diego. It isn't, admittedly, but one of my work friends was leaving, moving cities, so a bunch of us went out and had a meal, and that turned into a little bit of an evening. That resulted in me being deeply hungover in work on Monday, which
Oh
was
my
very
goodness.
unpleasant.
That is
And is
not
not
very
something
Morgan-like.
is not very Morgan at all, is it
No.
really? It
Well, I'm
isn't.
I'm glad. It must have been a really, like, poppin' time for Morgan to
It
partake. to hangover levels.
Yeah, it is not normal for me, but that was that was nice. He's a delightful man,
Oh,
and
that's
he's from
great.
Chile,
Oh, nice.
so he's not
Well,
moving back to Chile. He's just moving to a different city here.
oh, okay. Okay.
But
Well, I'm hoping to
yeah.
get you to hangover levels on future episodes of this show. So we'll
Oh, there
see.
might, yes, that's true. I mean, there's
Yeah,
potential for
maybe we'll play
drinking.
some. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see.
You
But
you
yeah,
were about to say we could play some drinking games, and you are quite
yes.
right because games are an element of this show.
Maybe not Jenga. It would be kind of hard to play
Not Jenga. We
Jenga.
can't play Jenga. You can't play online Jenga.
Yeah.
You can play online chess, but nobody wants to watch that.
Nah, it's not very exciting. But
Even though I like chess, nobody wants
yeah.
to sit through a podcast where you're supposed to speak of people playing chess
Yes.
quietly, visually. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that, Janine.
No, not at all.
You can't play online Jenga. Online Jenga is just a silly idea. I don't know why you suggested the idea. Stupid idea,
I was
Janine.
just trying to do a little callback situation, Morgan.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. It's not the only exciting thing that's been happening, of course, though,
No.
because we are using this show as well to actually express our own opinions on what's actually going on in the world of movies and TV, because the other shows we have are very focused.
Yes.
There's one movie that we talk about. We don't, they don't, those movies don't allow, they're not the place to talk about every such thing. The live discussions we do on the YouTube channel are also focused on the one thing. They're usually big, major things. And then we have the
Yes.
watch-alongs that are also somewhat kind of focused. Yes, they're chilled out and nice, but I think this is what's going to be good about Monday Madness, is that it allows us to talk about somewhat more topical things.
Yes, definitely. Like Obi-Wan. Have
Like
you been
Obi-Wan
watching?
Kenobi,
Have you
yes.
been watching the Obi-Wan show? 3
Yes.
episodes in now at this point?
I enjoy the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. I've been speaking to people, I think, because I know we've just had Star Wars Celebration
Yes.
as well, and there's been no announcements or indications at all for any movies, and I think that's a terribly wise decision from Star Wars. They need to just carry on with their TV,
Yeah, focus
because
on
their
that because
TV is
that's
doing well. Their
and it's
TV
bringing
is,
in
for the most part, good.
and I think it's bringing in new fans. Like, because I consider myself a very casual Star Wars fan. Um, I'm kind of somebody who, I liked the movies for, what they did for cinema and the stories and everything, but I was never kind of like deep into the world like that. It wasn't until kind of Force Awakens made things kind of more I guess maybe understandable, like for
Okay.
someone who doesn't know a lot about the world. And that kind of gave me the impetus to want to go back again and kind of really rediscover the original films and kind of
Okay.
re-become a fan of those. So yeah, and the shows have definitely made the world more understandable for someone who hasn't like, been a super fan for many years. So yeah, I think this show is definitely kind of a fun look back to something that kind of was panned and, you know
Yeah, yeah, look, my I have plenty of issues with, I don't have I in fact have very little issues with Star Wars itself. I have issues with
with the
people who
fandom.
claim to like Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's where my issues come from, and that's what makes me not want to talk about it to
Yeah.
any degree,
Degree,
to
because the
any
fandom is
extensive degree.
it's probably like one
It's
of the most,
horrible.
if not the most toxic fandom.
It
Um
really, do you know what? No, it really is the most toxic at this point,
yeah.
and it has been since people were shown something different in 2017
Well,
when
no, it
The
was to
Last
the
Jedi
point
came out. But it was
it
it
was
was it has had small segments of that have shown itself throughout its history, sure. I
yeah.
just think with obviously Twitter being what it is, and what it was then in, when in the start of Disney Star Wars, the one time you actually had something interesting,
Yeah.
really quite clever and interesting happen in a Star Wars movie. Not that I say there aren't clever and interesting things, but you tried a different feel of a Star Wars movie, and it has resulted in people like me who don't have the energy for arguing, not wanting to talk about Star Wars because you just get unnecessary abuse.
Yes, like, it was to the point where I was watching this, Jamie Lee Curtis was kind of doing this, look back at her career type video for something, and when she got to Knives Out, she started talking about Rian Johnson and that she had watched The Last Jedi, and she literally said the words, "The Last Jedi," and, like, while she's doing, like, this interview, she said, "Stop, I don't wanna hear it." Like, "Leave it alone." Like,
Why
"I don't wanna
should
hear
she need
about your
to do that?
negativity."
She
Like, she
does
literally
need to
had
do it,
she's
but
like,
why
I
should she need to?
'cause she was like, I wanted to work with Ryan on Knives Out because I saw The Last Jedi, it was a great film. Now stop. I don't wanna hear it. It was a good film. Da, da, da." Like, she had to, like, literally do this pause in her interview because she knew sh about this fandom
I
and how
just
they felt.
think I think I put a tweet out when Moses Ingram was getting unnecessary racial abuse for being in
Yes, I did
Obi-Wan Kenobi
too.
for
I
no
did too
reason
as
at
well,
all,
yeah.
um, saying Star Wars fans are just gatekeeping sad cases. And
Yeah.
that's because that's exactly. Oh no, we can't have. It must be this way, and we have to have it this way. You make it yourself, then write it yourself. If you want it a certain way, you want it a certain way. This individual or this group of people have made it the way they have been paid a lot of money, or in some cases, maybe not a lot of money, but have the passion to actually make it. They have the job.
Yeah.
They have been hired to create this particular version of this particular franchise, and they are doing it in the way they want to, not in the way you want to, because the
Yeah,
only person who's going to do it in the way you want to is you.
exactly. It wasn't made just for you.
This is what I mean.
Um, and
Entitled people, Jeannine. Entitled
yes.
people.
And like kind of miss the whole point in that, when they do hear these criticisms about people like speaking up about like if you don't like a character, that's one thing, but you don't need to like throw these racist slurs and these negative things toward the person playing the character. Um,
Well, the stupid thing is,
but their
what's
kind of
wrong with a
response,
character?
but the thing that they kind of want to just kind of smoke over their criticism. Oh well, I can't just not like a character, and if I don't like a character, that means I'm racist. Like that's kind of their deflection of the negative commentary.
I, I don't get it. I don't get it. You've had
Yeah,
what? You've had 3 episodes. In fact, you had 2 episodes at that point when all that started to come out.
yeah,
Maybe even just 1 episode. You don't have time to know that character yet. And there's what's wrong with her character in the
exactly.
Obi-Wan
I think she's
Kenobi
the
show?
badass. I'm like a dark skinned black actress playing this character. She's got braids. Like this is like life for me, and she's so like very strong-willed
I
and
mean,
mean
yes,
and brutal,
she's
and she's
mean.
a
That's the point.
badass.
She's mean.
Yes.
She's horrible. She loves Vader, and
Yes, and she is
um,
such a badass. Like, I
she
love
wants
seeing
to
this
kill
dark
Jedi.
character. Yes, and I loved kind of her I loved her portrayal of just kind of this dark villainous, "I don't care. I have my agenda and I'm gonna do it. I don't care about your warnings," this, like, rebellious character. Like, I love that. Like, I'm like, future cosplay? I mean, perhaps.
Well, yeah. I mean, especially when she's um, telling Han from Fast and Furious to shut up.
Yeah, I love that we have 2 Hans in Star Wars now.
Han Solo and Han. What's his last name in Fast and Furious? Han from
Somebody
Fast and Furious.
somebody said his last name was Solo, but like I looked and it's
Oh
not.
no, it
It's
isn't.
not.
I
It's not.
refuse to believe that.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past Fast and Furious, but I do actually refuse to believe that. But no, I'm enjoying Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I am
Look,
as well.
I am I'm a prequel child,
Yes, you're
very much
also,
so.
Ewan McGregor is your celebrity
I am
doppelganger.
also, yes, I am also quite clearly Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor's normal person doppelganger is
Yes, I
me.
was literally watching an interview with him, and I'm just like, he's reminding me of somebody. Who is he? Who is he remind? Oh my gosh, it's Morgan because he had the beard. So I was like,
I mean, he
wait,
does actually have the exact same like hair color as I do.
yeah. So it was like literally he had the same kind of styling, and it just took me a minute. I'm like, he's reminding me of someone. Wait, who is he? And then I just Morgan.
I mean,
I saw I saw you in his face for a minute.
I've never done a big cosplay, but I just think it would have to be Obi-Wan Kenobi if
Yes.
I ever did,
Give
and
us your
go
best.
to a
Yeah, give us your
convention.
best hello there.
Hello there. See, I can
Yes.
do. I could do that
I
all
think
day
you could
if you
pull it
want.
off. Yes, but
That's
I'm
what my
enjoying
usual welcome to the show is all about. It's just my version of hello. It's a
Yes.
little bit more excitable than
Then,
calm and cool and collected
yes,
that
but I think
Obi-Wan
you could
Kenobi
definitely
does.
pull that
He
off.
hasn't said hello there in this show yet. He
Not
nearly
yet.
did. He nearly
He will.
did. I was
He will.
expecting him to in this latest episode,
He's a little
actually.
too broken right now
He
for
is, but
that.
I was expecting him to in this latest episode. Like somebody said, I think it was the weird alien guy who likes the Empire for some reason, who drives the taxi truck
Oh yeah.
thing, whatever it was, said something along the lines of "Hi," and I was just 100%
Waiting.
expecting
Hello
them
there.
to just go for a joke, for a meme with it, because there's nothing wrong, Jeannine, with throwing the odd meme
Yes, yes.
into a movie. But
Well,
what we like better is when things from movies become just a meme in itself, like the movie Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which is one long meme,
essentially.
and we love it for that.
Yes.
Beside the point, I am enjoying Obi-Wan
Me
Kenobi.
too. I'm liking this little window into a timeline that we never saw. It's
Yeah,
been alluded to. We saw what happens after, we saw what happens before, but to get this kind of little in between window after after he puts the suit on, after he gives the babies away, after all of that, like I really am intrigued in this little window of time that gets us to um, the original film. So
I mean, it seems to be dealing with kind of trauma as well. It's a little bit
yeah,
similar to MCU's Phase 4 at the minute, in which it's just our lead is a traumatic character, or not a traumatic character, but someone who has gone through trauma and has
yes,
to revisit that trauma in order to heal. And I think that's what
exactly.
kind of this is going to eventually be. I know it's only 6 episodes, isn't it? So we're halfway through the thing now.
Yes. So I'm really excited to see what happens. This whole kind
But
of
we had a fight.
we did,
We
we
had a
did.
fight, Jeannine. We
It's
had
very
a
intense.
fight. Takes me back to 2005, Jeannine,
I
on
know.
Mustafar, watching, flying around, floating on lava
You have the
rocks.
higher ground. Yes.
You have the
So it's
higher
just kind of
ground.
like
I hate
seeing
you.
it's
You
just very
killed Padme
interesting to
and all
see
this business.
that power shift. Like, Obi-Wan was kind of on top, and now we're seeing him dragged through the flames.
I mean, if we're being honest, Vader's absolutely tore him a new one.
I know. And I was just kind of thinking of like, did they just literally sit James Earl Jones in a room and just like say all the words so that when you are no longer with us, we can still
I mean, they
create
must have
something?
done. They actually must have done, because James Earl Jones he's got to be in his late 80s.
Yeah. So I'm like,
He
just say
can't be
all the
doing
words
this. He can't.
into a
Go and
microphone
rest.
so that we can just paste it together and
That
and and
must be what. I
honor
mean,
and
that
continue to
must be what
honor
they're doing.
your amazing voice work, sir. Because yes, he's got to be up there.
He
So
can't be. I don't know. I don't. You know what? I've not even thought about that too
yeah,
much. But I remember actually thinking about that in Rogue One, and because James Earl Jones even sounded really old in that. I mean, James Earl
yeah,
Jones is old. Of course, he sounds old, but that was obviously brand new dialogue.
yeah.
Maybe this has been years in the pre-record. Who knows?
Yes, and I'm excited that we get our second Dornish person
The
in the
Dornish are taking over.
in over
Yes, in
Star
Star
Wars.
Wars.
Yes.
They are. Um,
We get Hilarious, yeah.
Oberyn Martell and Ilaria Sand taking over.
Yes, yes. We actually, I believe next week we'll probably be getting into some Stranger Things. So we also get
Oh yeah,
some Jock and Hagar coming in.
is he in this series of Stranger Things?
He is, yes. So
Fair enough.
yeah, they're taking over all the streaming services.
So they should.
But yeah, it was great. She's a great addition, so I'm kind of like excited to see where this goes after these 3 episodes. We kind of ended on a pretty scary cliffhanger. Um,
Oh yeah, I mean, look, yeah,
I mean,
he's not in the
obviously,
best place at the moment.
yeah. I mean, we obviously know Leia is fine. Leia will be fine,
Yeah,
but still scary.
you're interested to see what happens in something
How
like
it
this.
plays out. Yeah,
Exactly.
you
In a
know how it plays
world
out, but how do we get out of this? You know?
exactly. In a world that we are so familiar with,
Yeah.
you do just kind of wanna, "Ooh, what about this time in this place? Let's see what happened
How
then."
did we
And
get
that's what
here?
this is doing.
Yeah, it's
That's
the
what this
how.
is doing. It just so happens to be that Ewan McGregor is just unbelievable as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I
He's
mean,
great.
it's hilarious to me that the two people who played live action Obi-Wan Kenobi could not have more different attitudes to Obi-Wan Kenobi
Yeah,
possible. Alec
yes.
Guinness just hated every second of it. He's just stupid
This
laser
is
movie.
weird. Right? This is weird.
I,
I'm not doing any fight scenes. Just make me disappear out of my robes.
I
I'll
don't want
be
to
done.
do this anymore.
Do
And
you
Ewan
think we're
McGregor's
gonna
just
get
like more.
do you think we're gonna get some Liam Neeson Force Ghost?
Yes. I
No
would like
God.
to think so. Look, I would like to think so. I would like to, even if it's just a new bit of dialogue
Yeah.
and he's not quite able to
See him,
see
visualize
him
him.
yet. I think it would. I would be. I'm not gonna. Again, I'm not gonna get into the. You disappointed me. I hate this. Star Wars is dead. Not hashtag. Not my Star Wars. If they
Oh my
don't
god.
show Liam Neeson as
Neeson
Qui-Gon,
as a Force
because I would
Ghost, yeah.
love to see Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon, but I don't have to see Liam Neeson as
Yeah,
Qui-Gon.
no.
If I want to see Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon, there's a whole movie that I can go and watch.
Essentially, yes. But kind of just to go back to his attitude towards Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor. I mean, I watched a really like fun interview where he was kind of talking about his uncle being in Star Wars kind of being the impetus for him even wanting to be an actor. So I think that definitely has skewed him to a more positive feeling
Yeah.
than Alec Guinness would have had.
And he hasn't forgotten how to play Obi-Wan either.
No.
And it's great to see. I am very, very much enjoying
And
it.
he's a
And I like,
producer. He's a producer on the show as well,
yeah.
so
And I
mhm.
like him and the girl playing Leia's relationship as
Dynamic,
well. I
yeah,
mean,
it's so cute.
I don't think I would assume that when Leia is returned to Alderaan, that they then don't see each other until
Yeah,
A New Hope
yeah, I think
again.
that would make sense because, I mean, the way she talked about Obi-Wan didn't seem like they had this kind of super close kind of,
Yeah,
when
she
you see the
knew him,
message. Yeah,
but they weren't
yeah. So it would
they
make
weren't
sense that
friends.
yeah. So it would make sense to what we see later, that it wasn't like this continual kind of relationship they had.
But yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
I
I'm really
I am
excited to see what
definitely
happens.
enjoying it. But
Yes, I'm
yes,
excited to see
definitely.
Hayden again, like, the fact that what he had been through with this series and and the toxicity, and he was still willing
Even
to
though you
come back.
can't see him,
I know. The fact that he's there is just and I'm sure we'll get
he
some,
is
like, little
there.
I hope we'll get some little flashbacks to, like, because like, all you heard them talk about was after Qui-Gon was gone and he kinda came as Padawan and all this stuff, like, we hear about these missions they went on, and I saved you from this and that. So
Well,
maybe
true,
we'll
but
see some.
that was all the Clone Wars series, wasn't it?
Yes. So maybe we'll actually get to see some things like, where Hayden can actually be Hayden, for flashback type
Possibly.
situations,
I would
you
like
know?
that.
So,
I would
yeah.
I would like, even if it's just we see more clear kind of, I know we've had like one or two shots of Vader in the back to tank when it's clearly Hayden
Yeah.
in heavy
Mhm.
makeup. So it's nice, and to know he is the one in the suit this
It's
time doing
great.
it
Yeah.
all, it is very nice, and it
Yes.
does. It makes you feel warm inside
That he came
for
back
that he's
because,
that he's that he has come back and he has realised that people who are fans of those particular Star Wars movies and fans of him in those particular Star Wars movies, regardless of how good they or not they may be, you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's
Yeah.
nice to know that he sees that above seeing
The negative
the
kind of.
negatives about all of these jokes about making, hating sand and things like that, which I agree, Hayden, I
Yeah.
hate
And I mean,
sand too.
a lot of that is, due to the not great dialogue he was given,
It is. It
and working
is.
around that.
It is.
But yes.
Um, but yes, again, this is not the only thing we've had. Well, we saw Top Gun. Saw Top Gun
Yes.
Maverick. We did a watch along of the original Top Gun. Top Gun Maverick had absolutely no business being as good as it was. I
Well,
think I
I think
said
Morgan has
something
this.
along the lines of, why wasn't the Top Gun Legacy sequel to the same quality level as the Terminator Legacy sequel
It should have been.
that it should have been? Why was it really good?
Yes. Because yeah, like you have this very kind of sarcastic, um,
So,
joking hate for Tom Cruise. So,
yes,
so you
you
had
can
never
call it that.
seen Top Gun before we did the watch along, and
No,
so you would never have gone out and watched this movie on your own accord.
never.
So the fact that you came back from it and literally the first words you said to me, that movie had no business being that damn good.
It
Is
didn't.
what
It didn't. Why was it so good? I
Yeah,
mean,
I
it's
think it
making
made
all the money as well.
yeah, I think it made like 100 million in the opening weekend. It took the Memorial Day um number one picture spot from, I believe, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. So
Wow,
it
okay.
broke that record, and
Well, that's
yeah,
because
I think
Pirates of
it
the
made
Caribbean at World's End is about 3.5 hours
yeah, yeah,
long, so
true.
couldn't
It
get the playtime.
it made about by I think this weekend it made about 85 million more.
I
So
know, I know, I saw a tweet saying it had become Tom Cruise's highest grossing movie in the US already,
wow,
which is
yes,
is
huge.
impressive.
And say what you want about Tom Cruise as a person in life, and
I
he
do,
he is
Janine.
he
I do.
he is yes, he is a very kind of weird person in life. But on a film set, he cares. He is kind of the last like movie star. I feel like that kind of uh
You mean
I don't know.
name draw?
Yeah, is not really a thing anymore of just kind of this persona and being in all aspects of the filmmaking, and because he put so much into this movie of training all of the actors to like he kind of put them through a school of like being in different planes because they were actually in those planes with pilots, so they had to kind of train their bodies to kind of take those levels of flight and things like that. They took cameras in and filmed themselves in their cockpit scenes. So they had to kind of learn a little bit about cinematography, and so all the stunts and things that he puts into a set, and the care that he takes to helping his cast, and what he puts into a movie is really special, and you can tell he really cares. So
Yeah,
definitely
you can't
love
fault him for
him
that.
in
You
yes,
can't.
he loves movies, he loves making them, he loves making them entertaining, and you can see his effort and care on a movie set. So I will always appreciate that and respect that about Tom Cruise. And yeah, I mean, I had so much fun watching this movie. I ended up actually seeing it in 4DX. Um
Oh,
they were doing special Tuesday like screenings before it had come out that Thursday, Friday. And so I was going to go see IMAX, but literally the only seats left were like right in front of the screen. Like, not the best way to watch
nobody
IMAX.
wants that.
No.
at
So the
all.
next best thing was 40X. So I thought, that might be kind of fun, like feeling the jet motion and your seat kind of moving. And it was really fun. Like, I think that's a great movie for 40X. Like, literally, with all the kind of
Probably is.
jet engine starting and kind of the on the runway, your chair's kind of rattling. You feel the wind spray when you get up in the air. You feel the spray of the water. Like, your seat's kind of moving and all the action. It was kind of an epic, cool thing to see it in 40X, that movie in particular. So you felt all the kind of jet flight action. It was really fun.
And you really did. I mean, you felt that kind of action anyway, or at least
Yeah.
I really did. I was just surprised at how intense it all felt.
Yes.
It
Yes.
was. I really, really got into it. I
Yeah.
just was not expecting to get into it as much as I did. You had the odd little inkling of music, I suppose, didn't you?
Yes, that you
You
had
didn't.
your cues in there, you had the score in there, this
You had
pretty,
the score in
iconic
there. You had
drum
the
roll.
theme in
Mhm.
there. It opened with Danger Zone.
Yes. They even, they got a little clever with, Jennifer Connelly's music cue, playing some Bowie.
Yes, they did,
Yes.
and I did like how, say, callbacks that were made.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
didn't feel they didn't feel as kind of forced upon you as
no, they felt
callbacks
very
in legacy
casual.
sequels tend to.
Yes, they felt like an echo, like, of the original, not like some forced thing, "Oh, we have to throw this in there because,
Yeah,
we saw it in the original." It just felt organic, and,
it
like,
did. It really
yes,
did.
yes, there was a lot of melodrama, like, but it worked because it definitely harkened back to a time when action movies were very kind of, like, overly, like, patriotic and overly, full of, like, drama and, very machismo, like, masculine
Yeah,
kind of argument energy. And you had a very melodramatic storyline with, Rooster's relationship with Maverick and all of that. But it didn't come off like corny or cheesy like it could have.
not at all.
It just felt like a continuation of how these characters would behave, in this universe. It harkened back to a time of action movie when that was kind of the standard. So it didn't feel weird because like action movies, take themselves a little more seriously today. So kind of story beats and acting beats that would happen in this movie could come off as kind of corny. But because like what movie you're watching, it
Exactly,
works.
exactly. It just does.
Yeah, so
It
I
just
love
really
the
does.
relationship and the kind of story beats between Rooster and Maverick. Um,
Let's just
you
call it
know,
what it is as well. How often do you see a good mustache in a movie anymore,
yes.
Janine?
Like that
Mustache
mustache
Hall of
made him
Fame.
perfectly look like the child of Anthony Edwards and Meg Ryan.
Well done, Miles Teller, for growing that
Yes. It
mustache.
was perfect. Uh, Glenn Powell, he could have come off as kind of a bit of this Iceman caricature, but I think he did a really good job. I saw
I
I
like
saw
him.
this
I was trying to
I
remember
don't
what
know.
I'd seen him in before.
I was watching Mr. Sunday Movies that he did a kind of a review of this movie, and he kind of mentioned that like basically Glenn Powell is what Clint Eastwood was supposed to be. And I'm like, I think that kind of tracks.
Glenn
Or
Powell
Scott
is what
Eastwood.
Clint.
Scott Eastwood. Sorry,
Oh,
Scott
I was
Eastwood
going to say
is
what a
supposed
weird. What Glenn Powell is supposed to be Clint
what
Eastwood now.
Scott
Are we
Eastwood was.
supposed to be expecting Glenn Powell to be casually
No, no,
sauntering
definitely,
through
yeah.
western villages with a poncho on?
Scott Eastwood, sorry. Glenn
Scott
Powell
Eastwood.
is what Scott Eastwood was supposed to be. Um, but and I'm like, that kind of tracks. Like I kind of see that.
I
But
still don't
yeah,
know where I'd seen him before. I'd definitely seen him in something before, but no,
yeah.
I liked him in this as well. I think
I liked
that
all the young cast. I think they
yeah,
really worked well together. I think they worked with Tom Cruise and played off of him really well. I loved Bob. He was great because I seen that actor
Weaselly
in Bad
Bob.
Times. Well, I'd seen him in Bad Times at the El Royale, and he was so
Oh,
good in
that's
that.
right.
So I
That's
had
what
just
he
been
was in.
waiting. I had just been waiting to see him in something else really big, and so to see him kind of,
That's where he
be
was
one of the favorite new
from.
recruits in this was really fun. So
Well
yeah,
done, Janine. Well done. That's where he was from.
yes,
There
Bob.
was a few like that. That was like, where's he from? Where are they from?
Yeah.
I can't figure it out. Well done. You've figured that one out. Bob.
Yes, and they perfectly cast John Hamm
John Hamm
uh,
was pretty good.
yes, as just like, stodgy, uh, naval people who
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I absolutely enjoyed it from start to finish. It was it was just pure entertainment, but pure kind of you didn't need to feel anything else. You didn't need to worry about anything else. You were just there for that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. It
Like
played
it
enough into the nostalgia that you were just like you just had, like, these kinda smiling to yourself moments of, like, things that kind of harkened back to not just the original film, but just that era of film. Um
yes.
And
It
then
didn't
just very kind of
feel
excitement, action, like, it kind of, upped the stakes as well, which just made it more fun. Um, so yeah, it
I
was really
think
exciting.
it's probably the most genuine kind of I would say authentically kind of feel good from the filmmaking aspect to the watching aspect, big mainstream movie in years.
Yes.
In years. Because what are the big mainstream movies you get these days? Superhero movies that are all integrated and you have to know everything and
Yeah.
they do take themselves seriously. They
Yes.
do because they have to because they're in a wider story
Yes.
for the most part. Or if they're not like that, they're like the Batman, which is just the grimmest possible movie you could wish for. As good as it was, it is. There's no happiness in the movie
No,
at all.
definitely not.
There's a shred of hope at the end. That's all you get. That's all you get from
That's
the
all we're
Batman.
giving you. Yeah.
But as far as just kind of real, as cheesy as it sounds, fist pumping, high fiving, people cheering in the cinema, big mainstream action movie that is actually so incredibly well put together.
Yeah,
It's the best in years. The
definitely.
best in years.
And I will say, like, I didn't realize how much I missed a romantic Tom Cruise. He kinda has become a bit asexual over the years in his films
That's
where he's
for a reason, Janine, because
I
if you think
mean,
too much about him in a
yeah.
romantic sense, you start to go,
But
ugh.
I mean, he did rom-coms. He was very
He
romantic at the
did.
very beginning of his career. So then when that kind of fell off, it just seemed very odd. So like obviously you didn't really think about it that much because like, so many other interesting things were happening in his movies. But when I saw him kind of being romantic in this film, I was like, "Oh yeah, like he used to do this all the time and now he kind of hasn't." So I kind of liked seeing that side of him again in movies.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an interesting thing that I kind of realized, like, oh, I didn't realize I missed that side of Tom Cruise. And also just how
I
they
mean, as you
incorporated.
know, I am not overly familiar with Tom Cruise
No,
movies.
definitely doing a Tom Cruise series at some point on Morgan hasn't seen.
Do we have
So
to?
just yes, we do. I mean,
We
if we
don't
did a
have
Will
to.
Ferrell series, I think we definitely could make room for a Tom Cruise series.
Why are you horrible to me, Janine? Why do you like being horrible?
You end up completely enjoying yourself. You did not want to see this
Horrible.
movie, and you enjoyed it thoroughly. So
Despicable.
just trust me. Just trust the process. Um,
Despicable.
but I also love how they incorporated Val Kilmer. Like, I wasn't sure if he
Oh,
was going to be in this
yeah.
movie. I had heard some things about how they had done some things that they were going to be able to kind of reconstruct his voice because if you watched his documentary, Val, he documented like his whole career. He documented he has so many tapes and videos and recordings from behind the scenes of every movie he's done. So he had enough kind of examples, even just in his movie in general, of his voice and things like that. So I think they actually had to do a little bit of reconstruction even to get him to say those few words that he said in the
Yeah.
movie. But I like that they worked it in. They worked around, what has been happening with his health, and but still, he looked great, and that really great moment they
He
had, and
did.
yeah, so that was a really special thing, and I'm glad that they were able to kind of incorporate him into this movie in a significant way. So
So do I. I like that. I like that as well. I was happy. I was happy to see that. Like you
yes,
say, really wasn't sure they could,
yeah,
but they did. They did it in the absolute best way they possibly could. And
yes,
Val seemed quite happy to do it
yeah,
as well, which
definitely,
just felt nice.
yes,
I like that. It just it left it, it left you with a heartwarming feel.
yes.
And not,
So
not honestly, not many huge movies do that. They can leave you feeling good and nice and you enjoyed the movie, but, like, proper, like, just feeling heartwarming, just
Yeah,
like,
there were
"Oh,
some really
that
great
was
moments.
that was so emotional, so intense, and so great."
Yeah. And again, it could have come off cheesy or just like, "Oh, yeah, they're trying to just play off our nostalgia." But no, it felt very organic to the story they were telling, to what preceded it. Like, everything that could have come off cheesy just felt like it was a perfect fit for the story that preceded it. So,
Ultimately, it's how you do a damn legacy sequel, Jenny.
yes, it was great. Yeah.
It really, really
So,
is.
I really loved this movie.
I
Top
know,
Gun Maverick, great.
yes, I know you have one more thing you would like to, you would like to
So,
quickly talk about, Janine,
yes. So,
um,
like
before
most
our
people,
next major,
yes.
uh, segment of this particular show.
So, like most people, in the world, uh, I got fixated a little bit on the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial that kind of shook everything for several weeks, about 7 weeks. It finally had its verdict. So, Johnny Depp essentially won all of his, defamation, challenges that he put forth. Amber did win one, of her, countersuit. So Johnny Depp, he won, I believe, 10 million in punitive damages, and he was awarded 5 million in compensatory damages. But I guess the state of Virginia only like has a cap on how much you can get. So he's only getting the max in Virginia, which is 350,000 of the 5 million. But I think it just kind of the jury was allowed to put a number value on the compensatory or the punitive. So they kind of I think them putting that number amount on it kind of just shows, like, how much they believed Johnny, you know? Because
Yeah,
they could have made it a dollar, they could have made it nothing, you know?
yeah,
But the fact that they wanted on it to kind of show, like, no, we really believe was put forth in this trial. Um, and then Amber, she was awarded because her whole thing that she was trying to prove in her countersuit was that Johnny's lawyer, Adam Waldman, he had made 3 statements in interviews and things that he had put out there that defamed her. And it all was kind of circling around the idea that, like, all of the stuff that she set up, calling Johnny an abuser and all of these things, was a part of this elaborate abuse hoax that she set up. Like, walking out of the courtroom with a bruise on her face, and the next day you see her and she has no bruise on her face, like making sure that paparazzi was around to photograph her to see her coming out of the court. And um, so he had made several different claims about her whole abuse story being a hoax. And so she was trying to she pulled 3 statements and was trying to get her counterclaim on those 3 statements defaming her in some way. So they gave her one of the counts because there was an incident where she said that Johnny had hit her, trashed the place, left, and cops showed up, and she destructed the place herself to make the cops see that the place was all messed up. But they weren't really able to prove that that's kind of what happened. And so the lawyer kind of just outright saying that's what happened was not really fully proven. So that was the one thing they awarded her on. So she was awarded 2 million. So after all that, Johnny will get maybe around 8 million because of the 10, take away the 2 million, and then he won't get the full 5. He'll get the 350,000. So he won on all 3 of his counts. They believed that he proved his case that, her op-ed did call him an abuser when there was no real proof of abuse. She wasn't able to prove that he was an abuser in order to write those things about him. Even though his name wasn't in the op-ed, it was clear that it was about him, and they were able to prove that. So he won on all 3 counts. He was not there for the verdict. He was in the UK actually,
yeah. I
performing.
saw that he's here now. I don't know what he's
Yes, yes.
doing.
So, um, I spent several weeks of my life being very invested in this, and, like, it went
I
beyond kind of
I personally didn't.
you
I'll
did
admit
not. So
I
anything
didn't.
you heard was through memes or social medias or things I would tell you about it. So that's kind of your extent. That's why I'm probably talking so much right now. But
Well,
it was
all
just
I
very
will say,
interesting.
just because I really don't have any more thoughts
Yeah.
personally on it than what I'm about to say now, is that it just seems like it was just the absolute worst possible relationship situation.
Yes,
That I'm
definitely.
glad it has
Eh,
seemingly now got an actual final end point. Please never speak to each other
okay.
again.
Well, that's the thing. So I don't know. It seemed like she had a bit of contention with her lawyers. I mean, I think with her own words going on the stand, she seemed to kind of maybe go against. So things she would say would not be a good look for her. She would say things that made her look very bad, that made her not feel very honest. And I have to think that these are things she probably just did on her own accord against the advice of her attorneys. People have said they've seen like contention with her and her female lawyer, Elaine Brennehoff, and seen even Elaine like crying in bathrooms and things after hard days of trial.
Okay.
And so you would think that this would be over, but now Elaine has gone on this press tour recently talking about how Amber's heartbroken, how things were unfair. They had all this evidence that the judge wouldn't let in, and that's why they didn't win. That the jury probably they weren't sequestered, so they probably didn't listen to the orders that they were supposed to take and watch social media and listen to things and were influenced. And she's kind of just blaming everything and also saying that Amber would like to appeal. Even though Amber did say on the stand she just wants to be left alone. She just wants to be done with this and left alone. But her lawyer is out here on this press tour now saying she wants to appeal. So
Well,
we'll see. But I
look,
I don't know. But
it's obviously it's a tough situation, and it's a tough
yes,
situation to
definitely.
even talk about or give any shred of an opinion on. But all I will say is that what I hope has come from it is manipulation is wrong, and whoever it is, if they say that they're in a bad situation, believe them if they can prove it, of course. There's a
Yes.
proof aspect,
Which
but I
yeah.
do think that ultimately they've both been horrible to each other.
Yeah, so like I think, she said he did this and that and whatever. Um she kind of set herself up to say like, "Oh, I just want to be done with this." And then but then you put out a whole article about it, you know? And
It's
this is kind of what bites you to get sued in the
I
first
will be
place and
coming
all of
off
those things.
as I will
So,
be coming off as uninformed, and that's simply because I am.
yeah,
That's
you have
simply
not
because I
really
have
been following
not
it. So
been
so
following
yes.
it.
Yes.
I am admittedly, from what I gather, and again, maybe this is just trial by social media. I really don't know the ins and outs. I honestly don't. But it just seems to me like um, any future movies we're going to get out of Johnny Depp are probably going to be weird little indie movies because he ain't going back to big studios.
well, I mean, I don't know, I'm hearing things that like he got a role in some King Henry movie or something. There's rumors about him being in this Beetlejuice 2 thing that's potentially happening. So I mean, I don't know. Court of public opinion, I think the consensus is this trial brought a lot of things to light. I think Amber kind of exposed some very kind of flaws in her stories and didn't really come off as honest as she kind of was portraying herself to be. Um and I think that's enough to that swayed the public. So I think kind of Johnny just wanting the truth out there, Johnny just wanting a platform to say his piece,
Yeah,
despite what came out about him and his drug use and other
yeah.
things. That is enough to, I think, get the public behind him again. So I feel like he can maybe move forward and get his career back,
I would
at this
hope
point.
so. I would hope
So
so.
we'll see, but that's kind of where we're at. Verdict is now out. Trial is over. Yeah, our obsession, my obsession is kind of, I mean, it was to the point where I actually was getting into like the actual legal practices of the trial and really getting interested in those kinds of things, the objections and, how the whole process worked. To the point where when the trial was off for a week, I actually just watched a flood of like courtroom movies because, I was like, I need my law. So yeah,
You
like
need your law.
I need my law. So there was a whole week where I just watched like courtroom movies and it was kind of fun. Like I actually found some really fun ones. Um some really scary ones, some really interesting ones. So one actually starring Amber Heard that I didn't realize she was in. So um Yeah, definitely just a very interesting, weird thing that happened in pop culture, in society, in law, in all things. This 7-week trial, um, just weird that this is a thing. So, yeah, who knows? She said she'll appeal, but that's where we're at right now with this whole situation. But yeah,
Well, we have taken quite a long time there to actually get what our main topic is
I know.
today. But that's going to be the beauty of Monday Madness. It is slightly longer format
Yeah, so
than we
we're just
usually
chilling.
do.
We're just chatting.
We are chilling, we are chatting. But Janine, we did have a focus for,
Yes.
or a little bit of a focus for today's opening episode of Monday Madness. Um,
So
which
Morgan,
which which, which is
so you are a horror fan. I
yes,
am a horror fan. They recently came up with a Firestarter remake. Zac Efron.
Firestarter.
I mean, I watched the original because I'd never seen the original Firestarter. But I watched
Neither
it
have
and then
I.
I watched the remake. It was all right. I mean, I think maybe people will enjoy Zac Efron as a dad, as a zaddy. But other than that, yeah, it was it was I. But how do you feel about horror remakes, Morgan, in
Well,
general?
some are good, Janine, and some are dreadful, and most are okay. Most try and do their own thing. Some work, some don't. But
So
there's a
yes,
whole wide, big spectrum of horror remakes,
yes.
Janine.
Well, in seeing the Firestarter remake, it had me thinking about horror remakes. So I thought it would be fun to give each other a little assignment, Morgan.
Assignment.
Yes.
Yes, we did.
So I gave you 3 horror remakes to watch. 1 good, 1 bad, and just 1 random pick. You did the same for me. So we've now watched these horror remakes. So we're
We
here to
have.
discuss our thoughts on them.
Exactly, that is exactly what we are going to do. Janine, I did give you what I considered one good, one bad, and one interesting one that tried to do its own thing. Sometimes comes off, sometimes doesn't, depending on who you ask.
Yes.
And I think that's what you did as well
I
for
tried.
me.
I tried. Yes.
Should we start with the interesting middle ground ones?
Okay. Sure.
So I requested of you,
Mhm.
Janine, to watch the Evil Dead remake from
Yes.
2013. What are your feelings on the Evil Dead remake from 2013?
Um I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid remake. I definitely was going for less of the kind of comedic, like fun to be scared vibe that Sam Raimi has, but it felt a little more grounded. It felt a little more, creepy. But I will say that they took elements from the original film and held to those. Like, it could have been, pardon my language, but a quote, a term used by my older brother. It could have been a CGI fuck fest because of when it came out
It
and
could.
what horror was doing at the time with CGI blood and nonsense. But I think they did a decent combination of CGI and practical effects. I felt a lot of practical stuff happening in this movie, which obviously the Sam Raimi one on a
Yes,
shoestring budget,
that's the
definitely
beauty of
very
Evil Dead.
practicalness happening there. So I appreciated that they still kind of used a good mix of practical things and not just a bunch of CGI. I like that they actually gave a plausible reason for why they had to stay at the cabin because, obviously this girl's detoxing. The last time that they tried to, do this whole detox situation, they let her leave and then she overdosed and died for several minutes or whatever. So, obviously there's a determination to not let her leave again because they feel like there's going to be a repeat of last time or they're not going to believe that she wants to leave because there's some scary ass stuff happening, you know. So I like that they gave like a clear cut reason as to why they wouldn't want her to leave or let her leave. Um, and it definitely felt like um, it had very strong elements and very strong ties to the original film, but it did its own thing. So it wasn't just a rehash, regurgitation, frame for frame of things that happened in the original film, but you felt that like you were watching something that took place in the same cabin,
Yeah,
maybe, years later, whatever. So I really liked it. I like kind of the darkness, the scariness of it. Um,
It just doesn't have
But
the same vibe for me. That's why
yes.
it's a well-made horror movie. I personally think it's a well-made horror movie. It just Evil Dead in particular is just built on vibes
Yeah.
because you just throw a bunch of people who can't really act that well in in a really cheap horror
Yeah,
movie,
I mean, you're getting a
throw them together,
21-year-old Bruce
and
Campbell.
just
Yeah.
nonsense happens,
Yeah.
and you're just sat there watching the next crazy thing happen after the next crazy thing. And then Evil Dead 2 obviously is its weird own little remake in itself.
Yeah, because like, "Oh, we got more money now, let's just remake the first one, but better."
Yeah, let's do a little bit of a sequel, but then mostly or just kind of a redo.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like The Evil Dead from 81 was a movie that Sam Raimi wanted to make. And Evil Dead 2 was him realizing, well, I've got that movie now. So I can't just do the entire thing. I'll do it. I'll do most of what I just did
Yeah.
a few years ago, but it's going to be better now because people
Yes.
liked that one. That's basically it.
Yes. People
But it
taught me
is,
to live through this
it's,
one, but
I feel what the Evil Dead remake does is just give it unnecessary story that it doesn't need.
yeah.
Yeah, just for the reason of we need a story. You don't actually need a story. Live on vibes.
Yes.
Live on vibes.
I get that, and I love Sam Raimi's kind of his style of filmmaking always harkens me back to a Vincent Price, somebody who sees the fun in being scared, the fun of horror, the silliness of horror, and plays up those kinds of moments uh, to make horror fun. So,
Yeah.
obviously, this movie was a lot more serious, so it was kind of missing that kind of through line element. But as a horror movie, I think it's well made, and I liked kind of the story they put to it. The kills were gory and fun, so yeah, I enjoyed this one. Definitely a good middle of the road remake.
Well, fair enough.
So I gave you my middle of the road one was When a Stranger Calls.
Yes.
I of course was aware of the original. I'm a huge fan of urban legend, so like that story was always kind of the scariest type urban legend story that for me, as somebody who babysat all the time at that babysitting age. Um but I was more familiar with the remake, actually. I didn't see the original film until last year. So, um, yeah, I thought,
Well,
"Okay, well, this will be interesting to see what Morgan thinks of this 2000Z very very much 2000Z movie."
yes. When a Stranger Calls 2006 is a very 2006 horror movie.
Yeah.
It's also a perfectly competently made babysitter stalker horror movie. It's absolutely fine and it successfully does what it sets out to do. It's just not a remake of When a Stranger Calls from 1979. It's a
No.
remake of the first 12 minutes of When a
Yes,
Stranger
I
Calls
was so
1979.
confused when I watched When a Stranger Calls, the original film. I was so confused. I'm like, "Wait, more happens? Wait, we're following, like, the creepy collar man? Wait, like, what?" Like, "Wait, we see, like, our babysitter, like, later in life with kids? Wait." Like
The great thing about the original When a Stranger Calls is the opening is a perfect short horror film.
Yes.
Absolutely perfect. But the majority of the movie is this really uncomfortable feeling insight into the mind of a complete maniac.
Yes. Like, the fact that we're following him around and he's just very gaunt and creepy looking, he's just scary, and, he just seems like he just looks like you could smell, like, his dirty from the screen, like, he just
Exactly.
it's just so grimy and, like, it puts you in a vibe, like, a very, like,
Exactly.
oh eerie, uncomfortable place.
It's incredible casting because I think the actual actor was like quite ill at the time as well.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it
mhm.
kind of shows,
Yeah,
but it does work in the movie. It really works in the movie to help what they're going for
yeah.
in When a Stranger Calls. Um, and it is because the majority of the movie is a an uncomfortable ride through the mind of a maniac. And
Yeah.
then towards the end, you realize that it becomes about kind of, again, it comes about trauma. We've seemed to talk about that already today, but it comes about trauma because Carol Kane, who was babysitter at the beginning of the movie in the great opening, comes back. She's got a family now, but she still has that memory within her that plays on her. It messes
Yeah.
with her. And then when he actually comes back, and you get the you kind of get the final big punch of the movie of intensity, I suppose, towards the end. But it's a really intelligent movie,
Yeah.
When a Stranger Calls. And the remake has no substance. It's a competently made babysitter stalker movie with none of the soul. Admittedly
Yeah.
grimy, nasty, horrible soul,
Yeah, it's very
but
surface.
none of the soul.
Yeah, it's very surface, and I think they tried to kind of maybe do, an interesting opening that leads into our story kind of situation, like,
They did, and my
they
favourite part of the movie, of course, was the fact that Tessa Thompson was in the movie.
Yes, a very young Tessa Thompson.
So I
Um,
really liked that.
they did do a bit of a thing where, um, they show kind of what this guy has done in the past, and I liked the visual of, like,
Yeah.
because like, in the original film, we see them bringing body bags down the stairs, and the cops are there and dealing with the situation. In this one, you see them bring several body bags down, so you know that he just kind of ripped these children apart in pieces. So they're kind of trying
Yeah.
to set that up in your mind, and then we get into our story, which is, yes, literally they extended that beginning opening with the babysitter to a full length film, and that's kind of all the movie
A
is this babysitter being stalked by this guy this whole movie.
a
So
90-minute exercise in what the original perfected in 12.
yeah,
Let's just call the When a Stranger Calls remake. That, I mean, it's got also like a really fun, weird supporting cast as well. Clark Gregg's in the movie.
yeah.
In the When a Stranger Calls remake. The voice of the stranger is Lance Henriksen,
I think he was in a Scream film, so maybe he asked Roger L. Jackson
possibly.
for some voice
The
tips.
the face of the stranger that we see for a glimpse at the end of the movie is the one dude who I forget the
The
name of
Irish
now.
guy with the
Flanagan, somebody Flanagan from
yes, with that big
Braveheart with the
scar on his
scars.
face, who's like a villain and everything. He's like an evil henchman and things. Like he's that guy. We have Roy from The Office as like the
He
cop
is
that she's talking to on the
yes,
phone,
he is.
who gets to say the iconic, "The calls are coming from inside the house."
That's delivered in nowhere near as good a way as it is in that original movie.
Yeah,
So yes, it was a good horror movie, just a an an inaccurate remake. It could have been done with not being When a Stranger Calls. Just make it a separate babysitter stalker movie,
yeah,
because you wouldn't have then had any sort of people are expecting When a Stranger Calls, and they didn't actually get When a Stranger Calls.
yeah,
Which you couldn't be said for Evil Dead, because you still do get the entire kind of thing
yeah.
with that one. But, Jeannine, I also gave you what is perceived a bad horror
You
remake.
did.
That was 2010's Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, definitely. It was the original with kind of all of the characters stripped away. Just the fact that they didn't even kind of consult or talk to Wes Craven at all about this. Um, Freddy loses all his kind of humor. The characters, like particularly our Nancy, like Rooney Mara is a good actress, but she was just so all the characters were boring. You did not care about them. You were just kind of waiting around to see them die. Like the fact that they, made Freddy, even more terrible than what he was in the original films. They
Well, the
tacked
thing
on this
is,
extra crime,
they
you
take
know.
away any fun about Freddy. Because
Yes.
Freddy might be terrible. Robert Englund's Freddy might be scary. He's very scary in that original. But he's quippy. He's a little bit kind of witty. He's
Yeah.
got a smirk on his face when he's doing everything. He's running around like a bit of a lunatic sometimes, going, "Ha, I'm Freddy."
Yes.
But Jackie Earl Haley's Freddy comes across like Jackie Earl Haley. He comes across like the dude from When a Stranger Calls.
Yeah.
Just a creepy pervert.
Yes.
Which is what the guy from When a Stranger Calls is, if we're being honest.
Yes.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, like, he was no fun. He was just kinda there. Like, it was a very hollow remake. Like, I don't know. I can't really say much about it.
No.
We also get, I think, the same actress who was in, When a Stranger Calls, Katie
Oh,
Cassidy, I think is
right.
her name. She was she was in that one, and she was in When a Stranger Calls. Both, gets
Okay.
killed. And yes, this one was in fact a CGI fuckfest. So
Yeah.
very frustrating. No, not a ton of practical stuff. However, I do believe they kind of wanted Jackie Earl Haley's Freddy makeup to look more accurate to real burn victims. So I mean, I guess that's
Which I
just
suppose it
it's a
did.
creative thing. But yeah, I preferred the melted cheese pizza that, drove me to not want to eat pizza for several months as a
Exactly.
child when I tried to watch that movie for the first time at 8 years old. Um, so yeah, I think that was more effective than, anything
And
that happened.
there can be your Johnny Depp segue as well. We can,
Yes.
we can throw Johnny Depp in
Yes,
there for
yes, we can
Nightmare on
definitely.
Elm Street purposes.
Yes. Uh, yeah, just couldn't stay awake, Glenn. That's why you got sucked into your bed. Um,
Oh
um,
dear.
But yes, just not much to say about this one because
No,
it just was
I
very
don't imagine you
hollow.
have.
All of the characters were boring. It didn't have the silliness of Freddy and the terror. Like, you needed a kind of a decent combination because that was such a creative. It's like that was such a creative killer that you're not as safe when you're asleep and you have to sleep. So I didn't feel any of that dread. This interconnective story they tried to create with them knowing all of each other, and Freddie's kind of relationship with them when they were children, and all of that just was just nah, it did not play well at all. So a good pick for a bad horror remake.
Yes, I thought it was. I was quite pleased with myself.
Well, I gave you a bad one as well, and it's a bad one of original film that you actually really love. uh
Janine, it's not just a bad one. It's not just a. You've given me possibly
the worst one.
Morgan's most egregiously bad horror remake possible.
Which I thought would be fun. I hadn't actually seen it myself when I gave it to you, so.
Considering how much I love 1973's The Wicker Man. I not too long ago did a whole show on Flyover State of Fear with Joe where we talked all about The Wicker Man. It was great.
Yes.
You wanted me to watch 2006's Nicolas Cage, The Wicker Man, which is not in any circumstances a remake of The Wicker Man. It has absolutely. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Why is it in America? Why are they all women? Why has it got this weird we hate women vibe that is just not present in the slightest in the original Wicker Man? Why does they don't even call it Summer Isle, they call it Summer's Isle for some
And,
stupid
like, the
reason.
leader lady, played by Ellen Burstyn is Summer Isle. That's, like, her name. Like,
Well, it's Lord Summer Island.
yes, so she's Lady Summer Isle, like, I don't know.
I think it's Sister Summer Isle.
Yeah.
And it's just there's some dialogue that's the same, and everybody's just kind of like failing to deliver it properly.
Yes,
There's
that's what
no there's no intelligent kind of conversation on religious differences at all. I don't even think religion barely comes into it. It just seems to be, oh, these people are just doing weird things on this island somewhere. It's not a religious thing. It's not they're just an insular community. Why they have to build up the great thing about the Wicker Man 1973 is that actually for most of the time you really understand the Summer Islanders.
Yeah.
You really like their way of life. Right up until the point it gets way too much.
And, like, they are fairly friendly to him. It's very an eerie, a bit condescending kind of friendliness, but they
Very
are 100%,
condescending.
but they're very happy and peppy and friendly to him in, yes, a
The
condescending way. But right off the gate in this one, they're just, like, very rude to him. So
there's just
it's
no
not it's just
there's
weird. It's
there's just no shred of intelligence about this remake at all. And look, yes, at times Nicolas Cage overacts. He does. This was to be expected. I knew what I was getting in for with that. It didn't bother me as much as it may have done. We've all seen the stupid B scene. We have, right?
well, I was very disappointed. The version I watched did not have the B scene.
That's very weird.
Yeah.
That is very weird. How has that happened?
I
It's the
don't
B
know.
scene from
I
the
don't
Wicker
know,
Man.
unless I missed it, like, I did not I was waiting for it, and it did not come in the version I saw.
Well, I don't know about that, but we were expecting that. What I wasn't expecting for was just how you said the Nightmare on Elm Street remake felt hollow. Just how almost offensively hollow this was to the original Wicker Man. I know for a fact Christopher Lee fully criticised this movie when it came out, as
Yeah.
did the director Robin Hardy, who wanted absolutely nothing to do with it and didn't want his name anywhere near it. As a kind of based on his
Yeah.
movie. There's no intelligence about it whatsoever.
No.
Most of it doesn't make sense.
Like, it
Why?
was enough
The
it
the
was
the po the point the whole point of The Wicker Man is the religion. It is a movie about religion. It's a folk horror movie. This movie doesn't know what genre it is.
Yeah, I mean, it was enough to get him there under the pretense of, "I'm a cop, missing girl." But the fact that you have to add this other plot line where he had a relationship with one of the people there, and that's what they do to lure him there, and, like, they made their whole thing about not about the harvesting of their land and their crops, it was all about bees and their honey. Um, and because I guess they wanted to do some metaphor about, leaving honey traps to catch more things and whatever, like how we get that whole final ending scene of the movie with two girls like trying to trap more men to bring back.
One of who is James Franco, weirdly.
Yes, right?
Which doesn't make any sense. It just
Yes.
ends the movie making less sense than the rest of the movie. I couldn't. I really just couldn't with it. I
Yeah.
can't even. We'd be here for too long. We'd be here. We do actually
Well,
have a time limit on episodes of Monday Madness. We don't want it to go on for
forever.
over
But
2 hours or something
yes.
like that.
So I was very
But
curious because I had
oh
never seen
god,
it when I gave you this movie, but I was like, okay, I will watch it as well so I can feel your pain.
just give
But
me. There's three versions. There's three cuts of the Wicker Man.
so yeah, I
Theatrical
probably got the
directors
cut.
and final.
I probably
I
got
would
the cut
just
that
just
didn't have the
just
bees.
let's watch. No, of
Oh, the original.
73, The Wicker Man.
Yes.
Just watch those. There's three different things. You get nice little weird things in each of them. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Just don't watch this. There's no point. I've never seen a more pointless movie. And
Well, mission
truly, you
accomplished.
you did. It was mission accomplished. You did give me just the one that you knew I would just deplore because of how
Yeah.
much I like The Wicker Man.
Yes. Thought it would be
Nothing
interesting.
about it, just nothing hits. None of the intensity, the music that tries
Oh,
to be intense.
yes.
The good thing about The Wicker Man 1973 is that the music is ridiculously light and joyful
Yeah, so it's very
all
off-putting.
the time.
It's yeah, the juxtaposition to kind of the eerie things going on. It's perfect. But with this, yeah, it's like stock.
Bland, bland, bland.
It's like stock music.
It's worse. It's just dreadful. I mean, the one thing I can say is at least they honoured people from the original by naming people Woodward after Edward Woodward and
Yeah.
things like that. At least they did something like that. But where's all the stuff? Where's Why is it in the US? Why is it in the
Yeah.
US? Doesn't make any sense. The point of it is that it's weird and Scottish. It's the whole point of the Wicker Man. It's pagan. There's no pay. What are these people? What are the Summer Islanders in the Wicker Man remake? We don't know. They're just there. They're just there sacrificing people. They don't seem to know why they're there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely think I accomplished my mission.
You
But
did. Let's talk about the good one, please.
yes. So you gave me a pretty good one.
A
Yes.
pretty
And
good one, Janine. Yeah.
it made me watch two new movies because I had not seen the original of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yes.
Yes.
1956 original, 1978 remake.
Yes. I will say I really enjoyed the remake. So yeah, I obviously had to watch the original for the first time, and then kind of I watched them back to back. So and it holds up really well. It's definitely I like when a remake can hold to the bigger themes of the original film while also kind of separating it by doing its own kind of thing. So I liked, the original kind of had the end at the beginning type situation. Like you
Yeah.
see this doctor like going crazy and he looks mad and his hair's disheveled and he's a mess and he's screaming about crazy things. And then we get into the story and we see how like, clean cut he is and handsome and all of these things. So to see kind of the dissension into madness because of all these crazy things happening was a great kind of element of like seeing, him crazy to, well, how did he get to this crazy point? Um I liked that bit of storytelling. But what I liked that the remake did was it was almost it reminded me of like Shaun of the Dead. It was kind of this show not tell type situation. Like you're just kind of seeing things happen in the world around the situation that kind of give you hints to what is potentially happening, but it's not outright telling you yet.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of watching the things around you and hearing what people are saying around our lead characters that kind of like give us clues that, oh, something weird is going on here. So I liked those like little visual building blocks of kind of the things happening around the leads that kind of build up to ultimately this big invasion. So I really liked how they did that. It was just
And then,
nice
of course,
seeing
ultimately, of course, built up to Donald Sutherland pointing and screaming.
yes, which that was the only scene I had ever seen, and then to find out, oh, that's the last scene of the movie.
That's the last shocking twist of the movie, Jane.
Yes. Also just really great to see Donald Sutherland and Jeff Goldblum and Leonard Nimoy in scenes together. That was a kind of a
Right?
fun
Yeah.
thing.
I mean,
um,
also most of what Donald Sutherland wears in the movie, Donald Sutherland's 70s aesthetic is just so me.
yes, this is Mary Morgan. You
Weird
are
hair,
on.
mustache,
I
and
mean, what you're wearing right now, you could be in a 70s.
possibly,
You could be like a
possibly.
70s English professor or something. Um,
Too many people refer to me as an English teacher these days. Especially when I've got my glasses on.
oh
I haven't got
goodness,
my
yes.
glasses on today.
Yes, you look very 70s professional.
But no,
Um,
like what I like a lot about Invasion of the Body Snatchers, well, both of them, is just that they fit so well in their respective eras in which they came
yeah,
out. They really do, because the 50s, obviously, you're terrified of invasions and science and things like that.
yeah,
And the 70s, you're terrified of who's that next to me? Is he going to kill me?
yeah.
Because you're terrified of people. They both work really well, and they both play into those slight different
Fears, yeah.
aspects of it
Mhm.
really, really, really well. And it's a
Also
great story anyway. Just two incredibly well-made sci-fi movies, and,
yes.
and a really top-notch way of how to do a remake. You just bring it into that era.
Era of time,
You
and yeah,
keep the
base kind of idea.
intelligence, but you
Mhm.
keep the intelligence as well, and you keep the the kind of the themes of it. You keep the ideas behind it.
And you keep your characters interesting. Like,
Yeah,
your lead characters obviously still have to be people you wanna follow in the story and you wanna root
exactly.
for.
You don't
Um,
just cut the soul out
yeah.
at all.
And I love we got a little cameo from the guy of the original film being like the
Yeah.
correct his hair was even the same style of dishevel that it was. There's a scene where Donald Sutherland and the female in the movie, I'm not sure like who plays her. They're driving and the guy from the original like jumps on their car and he's like, "This crazy things are happening. They're taking over." And he's like screaming all the things that he screamed in the original film. Um only for him to get like dragged away. So yeah, definitely like it was a surprise to see him like, oh hey. So I liked, just a nod thrown in there to the original, like a solid nod callback in there. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely a great solid remake. It did its own things while kept the core and interest of the original film, updating it for the era it came out. So definitely solid pick. I enjoyed both films very much.
Well, what did you give me for my good one?
Well, this was one I hadn't actually seen, but I was
Ooh.
watching the Dead Meat channel and they do a thing where he like interviews somebody and talks to them about their favorite movie, their favorite horror movie. And the person he had was talking about how they really loved the 90s version of Night of the Living Dead and how, they made kind of Barbara this badass character. So I was like, "Oh, I need to watch this." Because like Barbara is so infuriating. Like who is the worst character in horror history, and why is it Barbara from Night of the Living Dead? Um, so like to see them make Barbara into this badass, and to see Tony Todd as Ben, which is like a perfect bit of casting, and like we never really see Tony Todd as like a hero type character. So I was very just intrigued by this version, and seeing that it was it got good accolades, and Tom Savini directing with George Romero, right there with input and everything like that. And so I thought it was going to be a really great pick. So I gave it to you as
Yeah.
without having ever seen it myself. So obviously I watched it. And yeah, what are your thoughts? Did you think it was a good pick for a good remake?
I do. I do. What is so special about the original Night of the Living Dead is came around almost accidentally. Because what's most special about it is that it came out in 1968, real height of civil rights, and you have Dwayne Jones as Ben playing this the black man playing completely the lead,
Yeah.
running the show and getting incredibly unceremoniously killed at the end in
Oh, so
just
heartbreaking.
terrifyingly
Yes.
realistic ways. Ben was never a black character
No.
until Dwayne Jones was cast.
Exactly.
So that's an
George
accident.
Romero was not trying
That
to do any kind of race commentary at
no,
all.
he just happened to end up
Cast the
doing
best
it.
person for the part, and
Yeah,
then you get these visuals of him getting killed and his body
exactly.
on a pyre and all of these things that just and him, dealing with white people not wanting to listen to him and these
Exactly.
white women
E
being afraid of him and,
exactly.
yeah.
And being it ended up being that. It ended up being this incredibly racially tense movie,
Yeah.
completely by accident. And also, it just happened to be the absolute turning point of horror movies going from studio fare to independent fare.
Yeah.
Completely the turning point. George Romero didn't know he was doing that either, but he
Yeah.
did it.
And poor guy, like, off of just some kind of error in, like, naming the film or something or with the rights were just kind of open to everyone. So,
Yeah, the idea of living dead and all that business, yes.
yeah.
So I love Night of the Living Dead. I think it's such a really great movie. I can watch it over and over again. It's nasty at times, but it feels so tense. Yes, Barbara's just the worst character because she doesn't do it. And not the worst character in the sense that I hate Barbara, just the worst character in the sense that she literally doesn't do a
Does
thing.
nothing. She can't pull her shit together and just, like so that's why I love this kind of retcon of Barbara in the remake.
Yes, she does not do a thing in that 1968. I could talk for hours and hours. In fact, there's an episode of It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show,
Yes.
on Night of the Living Dead, and on Invasion of the Body Snatchers 56, actually. So there you go. But 1990s Night of the Living Dead is aided greatly by the fact that it's got Romero involved.
Yeah.
From an honouring that movie sense, it's absolutely perfect. To have Tom Savini direct it, I think is great because it just means the gore's going to be there, and because it's in
Awesome.
colour
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
you're going to have fun with the gore. And it does, because let's be fair, 68's Night of the Living Dead is pretty gory for what it does. You know, you're getting the dead eating flesh that's
Flesh
like
and things,
ham and stuff like that, but it's flesh. But this movie, it does feel like you get the Tom Savini gore sense from it, and
Yes.
I like that. There was at times I felt like the movie should have been brighter, like it should have almost been more garish in its
Yeah.
colour and things like that. I think it was kind of muted, but that's kind of just like a colour palette and lighting situation. I just felt you really could have gone
Brighter with
gore
it.
fest with it if you
Yeah.
wanted to, and I almost did want it to do that. But then again, it was still very much honouring what they did with that original movie, because it definitely keeps the race aspects, the untrustworthiness aspects, the dishonest aspects of some of the characters. And like you said, Tony Todd's
We
just
never
great,
really
and
see
we
him
don't. We
ever
do
see him be
not.
a good guy in
We
anything.
we
But he's a
do not at all, and he's
yeah,
great in this.
yeah.
He's so good.
If
And
anyone was gonna take up that mantle of Dwayne Jones, like, perfect casting right there.
Tony Todd runs the early 90s in horror, as we all know.
Yeah.
This and Candyman are good enough for me. Candyman's good enough for me to claim he does that. Because
Yeah.
Candyman's really, I mean, pure horror. Pure horror. I'm not talking Silence of the Lambs, I'm talking pure horror. Candyman's the best of the early 90s.
Yeah.
So he can run the show in the early 90s as far as I'm concerned. But like you said, Barbara actually has a full character and things to
Yes.
do, and she is
We
a complete badass in this remake, and I
Yeah.
very, very much appreciated that, because that's your one gripe with 68's Night of the Living Dead, and they make it, they correct that almost in this movie. Everything else, theme-wise, message-wise, idea-wise, remains exactly the same. Aesthetically, 68 looks better, feels better
Yeah.
than this movie, and that is where I think that is where I'm still preferring 68. This is a great remake though,
Yeah,
because
I
it
really enjoyed
honors,
it.
it keeps the soul, and that's
It
what it's
definitely
all
does,
about.
and you
You
still
need
like
to
all the
keep the soul,
characters.
and
You
the
still,
others
like,
didn't.
yeah, you still get into the dynamics of everybody. I get my comeuppance, as you know I
You
love,
do.
seeing a villain, seeing a terrible character get theirs. So, that's like a solid ending for me. So yeah, of course, while it's not gonna have such a poignant kind of feeling ending as the original, I think
No.
they worked with the time that they were in at that moment. And
Oh yeah.
but
Well, it
the
still had
majority of the film
elements of that.
still, yeah, they
Still
still kept the
absolutely had
spirit
elements of that.
of the original film. So, yeah, I thought it was
Um,
a solid remake.
I would just like to say just one thing. I really wish she'd have killed her mother with a trowel again and not just bit her. Like, use the trowel.
Yeah, I know, and they showed it hanging on the wall, but yeah.
Use the trowel. You've got to have the. You've got to have the. Come on,
Yeah. And, like, they made a point to, like, show it hanging on the wall, but they just, yeah, I guess they went a different way, but
strange. But yes, it was very fun to
Yay.
visit some horror remakes.
Yes.
Jeannine, like you said, in honor, I suppose, of this Firestarter remake, you came up with
Yeah.
this idea.
Yes.
Fun stuff. Fun
Homework.
stuff. We do have one last element of fun to have,
We
though,
do.
on the first episode. This first episode of Monday Madness, because we play games on here as well. Games, Jeannine. Fun and
Yay.
games. Fun and games. It's exciting. Are you
Yes,
excited for the
I
game?
am. I am. I mean, on our patron live streams, we've had fun playing games of 6 degrees of separation. So I thought we could play a little bit here, but kind of themed to what we were just discussing. So I thought we could do a horror actor, like an actor who's known for horror films, to another horror actor. And then we
Yes.
could do a second one where we pit an actor from one original horror film to an actor in its remake.
Yes.
So
Well, I'm getting my questions up. I'm getting my people up now.
okay,
We're
all
gonna give
right.
ourselves a little bit of a time limit.
Yes, or we just
Just
be
just
going
with just a
forever.
vague time limit because we don't want to be here. We don't want to be here forever. And this is the first episode of Monday Manners. We weren't sure how long this was going to go on
No,
for. We
we're
assumed
testing
maybe
the
an hour and a
waters.
half. It's gone slightly longer than an hour and a half. So maybe that's just what the length of this show is going to be
Yes, we're just letting it
between
flow.
the two.
Letting it flow, guys.
Let it flow. But fun and games. Are you starting or should I start?
You can start.
Oh, I'll start. Okay. So would you like my remake to original movie, or would you like my horror actor to horror actor?
Let's do actor to actor
So
first.
just horror. Okay. So I have
Okay.
Vera Farmiga to
Okay.
Peter Cushing.
Oh, that's mean.
I don't think it is that mean because I think I did it in 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Peter
I did it in,
Cushing.
actually 3 individuals. You can actually do 2 in between movies. 2 in between movies. So you've got
Really?
the one movie with Vera Farmiga, the one movie with Peter Cushing, and then 2 movies in between that. That's how I've done it.
Hey, okay. Um
I wonder.
You're
Let's
mean.
Peter Cushing. Who was
Okay.
in movies with Peter Cushing? Who was in movies with Vera Farmiga? At least I've
You're
given you
having fun with
2
this. I
actual horror
know.
actors as well.
Oh, okay. Vera Farmiga was in.
Many things.
She's in many things, and I'm like, oh, my mind is going to the non-horror things.
Vera Farm. No, this is a horror movie.
I know, so I have to pick a horror movie to start.
To start, I would suggest picking a horror movie, and to end, I would suggest picking a horror movie, but not necessarily in the middle.
That's not fair.
Vera Farmiga is in horror movies.
I know.
Vera Farmiga is in notable horror movies.
She's in The Conjuring with
She is.
Patrick Wilson.
Patrick, yes, she is. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. That is correct.
Patrick Wilson is in. Oh,
Patrick Wilson's also in many things.
yes, I am
Sometimes
aware.
you forget Patrick Wilson is in this particular movie that I had.
Oh, okay. Um,
Notice how I haven't gone for any Universal horror movie because it's just really easy for you to get there, as we found out on a Patreon live
I
stream, I
know,
think.
and I'm like, am I just gonna be trying to just get to Star Wars every time?
Well, I'm not saying don't go to Star Wars.
Oof,
If you can get to Star Wars, I think that's a good idea.
okay, this is tough. Vera Farmiga was in The Conjuring with Patrick Wilson. Patrick Wilson was in. Oh, oh, okay, okay.
I hope you've got it.
Oh my god. Okay. Patrick Wilson was in. Okay. Patrick Wilson was in Lakeview Terrace with Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson was in any prequel Star Wars film with uh Frank Oz.
Frank Oz.
And Frank Oz was in any original Star Wars film with Peter Cushing.
I said you were supposed to go. Frank Oz was not in the original Star Wars film either.
I know, he was in the second one.
Oh, so you're going from he's in that with Mark Hamill and you're giving Mark Hamill to Peter Cushing in Star
Yes.
Wars. Okay,
Yes.
you got there. I will give you it. Admittedly, my path was Vera Farmiga, Patrick Wilson in Aquaman with Tamara Morrison
Oh,
in Attack of the
okay.
Clones with Christopher Lee, and then
Ooh.
literally anything.
Yes. Okay.
Anything you want. Pick one of 4 million movies that Lee and Cushing made together.
Good one. That was a good one. Okay. Mine is probably a little, I don't know. Okay.
I'm terrible at these mostly, aren't I? So,
well, when you like to do this modern actor to classic actor shit,
I do.
Definitely more difficult. Okay,
people will find out, when we continue fun and games on Monday Madness that I'm terrible at this particular game generally.
Well, mine is Linda Blair to Dee Wallace.
Dee Wallace. Remind me. You'll have to remind me of Dee Wallace now.
Mother and Cujo. Mother and E.T. I'm giving you movies.
Mother and E.T.
She was in
Linda
that
Blair.
the Frighteners movie we watched with Michael J. Fox.
Oh, that's right. Linda Blair. I literally knew one movie. There's one movie there I can go to. There's one movie, and I 100% am getting nowhere near E.T. or the Frighteners with it.
Mine is.
Am I? Because I can go to. If I go there, I can go. Oh, I'm gonna think out loud. I'm just gonna think out loud.
Yeah, no, that's what you have to do. That you have.
So if I can go E.T., I can go Drew Barrymore. But if I can go Drew Barrymore, where the hell do I get to The Exorcist from?
It's very easy.
Because I go The Exorcist, and I've got to go. Why do I all of a sudden want to go Max von Sydow, which is definitely not the route I should be going?
Morgan, it's so much easier than you think.
I should definitely be going Ellen Burstyn. I don't know Linda Blair movies.
Okay.
I don't know Linda Blair movies, and I don't. Unfortunately, which probably makes me sound terrible, but give me old people. Old people, I can do like that.
Literally one movie, Morgan.
One movie. One movie. Have you gone Burstyn? Please tell me you've gone Ellen Burstyn.
I have not.
How have you gone Linda Blair then? Have you gone Max von Sydow? Please tell me you've gone Max von Sydow. You've not gone The Exorcist, have you? This is the problem. So I'm legitimately. If you've not gone The Exorcist, I'm legitimately going to have to pass.
Tapping out. Okay.
I'm gonna have to tap out if you haven't gone The Exorcist.
Linda Blair has a significant cameo, I'd say, in Scream with Drew Barrymore, who is in E.T. with Dee Wallace.
Linda Blair?
Yes.
Am I maddeningly forgetting something at the
After Drew Barrymore gets killed, there is a whole swarm of reporters at the school, and a reporter harasses Sidney Prescott. That reporter is Linda Blair. It's played by Linda Blair.
Oh my God, Jeannine. That's oh God. You can't do cameos to me. That's mean.
Linda Blair is in Scream in a very memorable scene. And if you watch any trivia about Scream, they're always like, Linda Blair's in it as a nod to because she was in The Exorcist.
Watched Scream since January. There's also weird noises going on outside, so I apologize if you can hear any strange noises coming from
I think
outside right now.
it'll play to the genre of film we are discussing.
It may do. It does sound like the zombie apocalypse. Are we in Night of the Living Dead?
Perhaps.
Perhaps
Okay,
we are.
get your redemption, Morgan. Stump me.
So I will tell you the
film.
The film.
Okay.
Is we are going from The Omen to The Omen.
Ooh, okay.
So that is The Omen proper and The Omen 2006.
I don't know who's in the 2006 one.
And you are going from no, because I'm telling you the people, aren't I?
Okay.
I can't just tell you I'm telling you the people.
Yes.
So you are going Gregory Peck to David Thewlis.
David Thewlis.
David Thewlis. Who is in the Omen remake.
Okay. So does it have to connect back to David Thewlis in the Omen?
Well, yeah, but if you go David Thewlis in the Omen, then you just have one movie, don't you? It's just one connecting movie. So you have to just find... Basically, you can do this in 3 connecting movies. So The Omen and 3 connecting movies, or at least that's how I've done it.
Okay.
So like Gregory Peck in something with someone, and then this person is in another thing with someone who is in another thing with David Thewlis. And then you can go The Omen.
Okay. Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck. We all like Gregory Peck and his weird eyebrows.
Which he had weird eyebrows in Cape Fear. So
he did. He did.
So Gregory Peck.
I'm not going Cape Fear.
Okay. Well, let me.
I haven't gone Cape Fear.
Let me go there. Let me just see how that goes. Okay.
Well, you actually have to start with The Omen. So just say The Omen
Peck
stars Gregory Peck.
Okay. Gregory Peck from The Omen was in Cape Fear remake with
a few people.
Yeah.
With Martin Balsam.
With Nick Nolte.
In the same scene.
Yes. Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte was in Nick Nolte was in
I can't name many Nick Nolte movies off the top of my
Warrior with Tom Hardy.
Oh, that's right. So he was.
We're
still trying to get to David Thewlis.
I am aware, so I'm like, okay, I found a British person.
It's a good step.
Oh, okay. What's another movie with British people?
You're finding Tom Hardy now, though.
I know. Okay. If I can get to okay. Wait.
Noises.
Okay.
Really, you have to get to one. You know where you have to get
I know. I know what I have to get to now. Okay. Tom Hardy was in. Oh, okay. I got it.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Gregory Peck from The Omen was in Cape Fear with
the remake.
The remake. With
and the original, but the remake.
But the remake as well. With Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte was in Warrior with Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy was in This Means War with Chris Pine. Chris Pine was in Wonder Woman with David Thewlis.
Well done. Well done. It is not the route I went. I went a fairly simple Gregory Peck from The Omen in Roman Holiday with Audrey Hepburn in Robin and Marion with Richard Harris, in Harry Potter and the
Potter.
Philosopher's Stone with somebody who was in Prisoner of Azkaban with
Azkaban.
Bruce Willis
Okay.
from
That was
the
a good
Omen
one.
remake. So I went Richard Harris. Richard Harris.
So this one is fairly easy. I mean, easy in the fact that it's a short amount of films. So I
Okay.
went with Prom Night. Prom Night
Prom
1980 to Prom Night 2008. And your
Okay.
actresses are Jamie Lee Curtis to Brittany Snow.
Brittany Snow. Let me get a picture of Brittany Snow. I don't know people from these days.
Pitch Perfect.
Morgan hasn't seen Pitch Perfect.
Hairspray.
Hairspray. Brittany Snow in Hairspray?
She was Michelle Pfeiffer's daughter.
Brittany Snow. Okay. Jamie Lee Curtis to Brittany Snow.
Because she is the lead in the new Prom Night, in the remake.
Okay. So let's go Hairspray then. Because I like Hairspray. I just forget people sometimes when I've seen them in things.
Yes.
This is why I'm terrible at this game, because I don't know people by name or by face. I just say that person, and then I know the name. It's just I can't put them together. Let's go Hairspray. So let's go. There's loads of people in Hairspray. Have they been in a movie with Jamie Lee Curtis? Probably. Jamie Lee Curtis has been in a lot of movies. Jamie Lee Curtis was in Prom Night, but she was also in something else. She's in Trading Places.
She was in Trading Places.
She was in True Lies.
She was in True Lies.
She was in other things. She was in Halloween.
She was.
She was in many Halloweens.
Yeah.
Trading.
Yes, you're in the right era. I went 80s.
If you go Trading Places,
I went 80s. Jamie Lee.
If you go Aykroyd, you can go Ghostbusters. If you go Ghostbusters, you can go Bill Murray. If you go Bill Murray, you can bring it a little bit further this way to Bill Murray. Who am I trying to get to? Hairspray. Bill Murray. Oh God.
Well, I did name someone from Hairspray.
Name someone from Hairspray. I can go Walken, I can go Pfeiffer, I can go Travolta. Those are my three. Those are my three big players in the game.
Oh, one of those was how I got there. So you're on the right track.
Just Walken. I can go Batman Returns. And I can go from there to Ghostbusters. I can't get from there to Ghostbusters. From Batman Returns to Ghostbusters. DeVito? Can I go through DeVito?
You can try.
No, I can't go through DeVito. Oh, I can go through DeVito, and I can go through Twins, and I can go through Schwarzenegger, and I can go through True Lies. Success.
Okay, but you didn't really say it properly.
I did it. Jamie Lee Curtis from Prom Night in True Lies. Schwarzenegger in Twins with DeVito. DeVito in Batman Returns with Walken.
And Pfeiffer.
Who are both in Hairspray
with Brittany Snow. Good job. Good job.
Success.
Mine was literally Prom Night, Jamie Lee Curtis. She was in this film from the 80s called Perfect with John Travolta, who was in Hairspray with Brittany Snow.
Because I know that movie.
It has a very famous aerobics class scene where they're doing very
I know that
scene. Yeah, where they're doing very suggestive aerobics and just looking at each other in the class.
I know what you mean. Yes, okay. Fair enough. Well, Jeannine, haven't we had fun?
We have. I mean, I
Oh,
had a good time.
I
Did you have a good time?
I certainly had a good time. The first installment of Monday Madness, I think, has been a resounding success. A long format, it has to be said.
Yes.
Perhaps, I don't know. We'll have to find out. We'll have to
Yeah.
find a perfect ground for the length of episode, I think.
Yes. But
You know, it's
this was our first episode, so we're just feeling it out.
exactly,
You know, letting
exactly.
it do its thing.
Of course, though, this show is not the only show you can find on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed, and it is not the only show we have on this YouTube channel either, if you are watching us and not just listening to us. Every Monday, we will be here with Monday Madness, but every Wednesday on the podcast feed, we have Morgan Hasn't Seen, where Jeannine forces me to watch things I haven't seen. That's the whole deal
It's fun.
with it.
Yeah.
We're on modern Shakespeare movies at the moment. This Wednesday is going to be the Othello movie from 2001. That was very intense and full of basketball as well.
Yes.
Strange mix, but you know, it kind of worked. Then we have the main show every Friday. It's a Wonderful podcast where we celebrate old movies, we show love to them, we discover new old movies, because that's what we do there. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have you covered on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed, but on the YouTube channel, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Ding your notification bells for Monday Madness. Likes, all the good stuff for Monday Madness every week, as well as the watch-alongs that we do, the live discussions that we do, and some other fun videos that we have on here as well, and possibly have coming to here depending on what may happen, feedback, other things like that. We have the Patreon that's been going across the bottom of the screen, but if you are not watching, patreon.com/itsawonderful1 if you would like to support us over there. There's also a link to donate to us on something called Buy Me a Coffee, which is just a little donation thing if you want to support us. Just, you know, maybe you don't want to be a Patreon, you just want to put something there just to support, just to donate. You can do that as well. That is there. We do not ask for any of this stuff. We simply
but it's there.
It is there should you want to do something like that. Find us on Twitter, the show at It's a Wonderful One, myself at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in the because, Jeannine.
3 is the magic number.
On Instagram at just the Purple Don. All your maddening stuff is where?
You can find me at Jeannine Debean _ on Twitter, Jeannine Debean on Instagram and TikTok. I've just created a new merch store for us on Teespring. The link will be in the description if you want to get some fun designs. We have our Spotlight It's a Wonderful Podcast design on there, our Morgan Hasn't Seen logo, the It's a Wonderful Podcast official show logo, and a new Monday Madness design as well. So check that out at our new Teespring shop to get your merch. Also, if you want to purchase any of my art in print form, I am an artist in my spare time. You can find art prints at my print shop at Big Cartel, g9design.bigcartel.com.
There we go. Jeannine, I think we're going to have to do it because we always do it. So let's
and now you get to see us do it.
There's not even an impression to be had. Just say it in an excitable way.
3, 2, 1.
Bye.